Hello everyone, this is your friend Naruto Fix, and we are back with another epic What If Naruto fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto's heart was broken and Ino became his only support part 2. If you love Naruto fanfics, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the journey with me. So, let's start the fanfic. The evening sky was painted with shades of orange and crimson as the sun slowly dipped below the horizon. Yet, inside Naruto's heart, there was no glow, only darkness. His spirit, once unshakable, had finally been crushed. The boy who always wore a smile, no matter how painful life had been, now sat in silence under the old training tree, his head lowered, eyes heavy with tears. Naruto had faced loneliness all his life, but this time it was different. Loneliness had been his unwanted companion since childhood, but heartbreak, it cut deeper. It wasn't just about being left out anymore, it was about being rejected by someone he trusted, someone he had let into his heart. His fists dug into the ground, trying to hold together the pieces of his shattered world. He whispered to himself, almost too softly for anyone to hear, maybe, I was never meant to be loved. But fate had other plans. A little distance away, Ino had been passing through. She hadn't expected to see Naruto here, sitting alone. Usually, Naruto was the loud one, the boy whose voice carried through the streets of Konoha, the boy who made others laugh even when they didn't want to. But today, what she saw stopped her heart for a moment. His shoulders slumped, his hands trembling, his eyes wet with tears. For the first time, Ino saw a side of Naruto that no one else ever had. A side that wasn't masked by his usual grin. And strangely, her chest tightened. She had never thought much of him before, dismissing him as a troublemaker, but this was different. This was raw pain, and it struck something deep inside her. Slowly, almost hesitantly, Ino approached. Her footsteps were soft, her voice careful. Naruto, are you okay? Why are you sitting here all alone? Naruto lifted his head, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Yeah, I'm fine, Ino. Just wanted some time alone, that's all. But Ino wasn't fooled. She had always been good at reading people, and this fake smile was the weakest mask she had ever seen. She stepped closer, her voice firmer this time. Don't lie to me, Naruto. You've always been the one to cheer everyone else up, but right now, you're the one hurting. I can see it, so at least tell me the truth. Naruto froze. His lips trembled as he tried to hold it in, but the tears betrayed him, sliding down his cheeks in silence. He took a shaky breath and whispered, sometimes, no matter how much I try, it feels like I'll never be enough. I thought, maybe someone would stay by my side, maybe someone would understand me, but I was wrong. Quote, his voice cracked, breaking apart with the weight of his pain. For a moment, Ino didn't know what to say. Her heart clenched as she watched him, the strongest boy she knew, falling apart before her. Without thinking, she reached forward and gently took his hand. Her touch was warm, her voice soft but steady. Naruto, whoever hurt you made the biggest mistake of their life. But you're not alone. You don't have to carry this pain by yourself anymore, because I'm here. Quote, Naruto blinked, stunned. Of all the people in the world, he had never expected these words from Ino. Her blue eyes locked onto his, filled not with pity, but with genuine care. For the first time that day, something shifted inside him, a small spark of light in the darkness. Ino held his hand tighter, both of her palms wrapping around his. Let me be here for you, Naruto. Let me help heal the wounds they left behind. Naruto's heart trembled. The pain was still there, the betrayal still fresh, but for the first time since his world had collapsed, he felt like maybe, maybe, he wasn't alone anymore. That night, under the fading twilight, the two of them sat together. Naruto spoke in fragments, haltingly sharing the burden in his chest, while Ino listened, her presence steady and comforting. The boy who had always carried the weight of the world by himself finally had someone who wanted to share it with him. And though neither of them realized it yet, this moment was the beginning of something new, a bond born from heartbreak, destined to grow into something far stronger. 9/29, 12:54 p.m., Vivavat. The night air was cool, carrying the faint sound of leaves rustling in the breeze. Naruto and Ino still sat beneath the old tree, the silence between them no longer heavy but strangely comforting. For the first time in hours, Naruto felt his heart beat a little lighter. Ino glanced at him from the side, watching as he absent-mindedly traced circles in the dirt with his finger. She could tell he was still lost in thought, but his shoulders weren't as tense anymore. She wanted to say something, anything, to ease his pain further. Yet she hesitated. Words were never easy when emotions ran this deep. Finally, she broke the silence. "You know, Naruto, I always thought you were kind of annoying." Quote. Naruto blinked, surprised. He turned his head to her with a weak chuckle. "Yeah, I know. Most people did." Ino smiled faintly, shaking her head. "But, even when you annoyed me, there was something about you. You never gave up. No matter how much people looked down on you, you still smiled. You still tried. And honestly, that's something I've always admired about you." Naruto's eyes widened slightly. Compliments weren't something he was used to, especially not from someone like Ino. For a moment, he couldn't find the right words. All he managed was a quiet, "Thanks, Ino, that means more than you know." There was a pause, and then Naruto sighed deeply. "But this time, I couldn't smile through it. I thought I finally had someone who believed in me. Someone who would stand by me, but in the end, I wasn't enough for them." His voice cracked again at the end, and he quickly looked away, ashamed of showing weakness. But Ino didn't let go of his hand. Instead, she leaned a little closer and said firmly, "Naruto, stop thinking you weren't enough. Sometimes people don't see what's right in front of them. Sometimes they don't realize how special someone is until it's too late. That's not your fault, and I don't ever want to hear you say you're not enough again." Naruto's throat tightened. Her words hit him harder than he expected, and for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel judged. He didn't feel like the outcast, the village fool, or the boy who always messed up. He felt understood. He managed a small, genuine smile. "You're tougher than you look, Ino." Ino laughed softly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Of course I am. I'm Ino Yamanaka, remember. But, I can be gentle too. Especially when it comes to someone who needs it." The way she said it made Naruto's heart skip a beat. He quickly shook his head, trying to push away the strange warmth spreading inside him. He didn't want to think about love again, not now. His heart was still too raw. But Ino wasn't trying to rush him. She wasn't trying to replace what he lost. She was just there. And that was exactly what Naruto needed. After a while, Ino stood up and stretched her arms. "Come on, Naruto. Sitting under this tree all night isn't going to help you. Let's walk around the village a bit. Maybe get something to eat. You look like you haven't eaten in days." Quote. Naruto chuckled lightly. "Hey, you sound like old lady Tsunade when you say that." Ino smirked. "Well, someone has to make sure you don't starve yourself. And since I'm here, I guess that someone is me." Quote. Without waiting for his answer, she offered her hand to him. Naruto hesitated for a moment, staring at her open palm. He wasn't used to this, someone willingly reaching out to him, someone offering comfort without expecting anything in return. Slowly, he placed his hand in hers and let her pull him up. As they walked back toward the village, Naruto realized how quiet it was. The streets were nearly empty, only a few lanterns flickering in the night. Ino stayed beside him, matching his pace. There was no awkwardness, no need to fill the silence with forced words. For the first time in days, Naruto felt like maybe he could breathe again. When they reached a small food stall still open, Ino insisted on ordering for both of them. She brought back 2 bowls of steaming ramen, setting one in front of Naruto. "Eat. No arguments." Naruto couldn't help but laugh, the sound genuine this time. "You're bossy, you know that." Ino grinned. "And you need someone to boss you around right now. So shut up and eat." As Naruto took his first bite, he realized something. The ramen wasn't what was filling the emptiness in his chest. It was her. Her presence, her words, her determination to stay by his side even when she didn't have to. For the first time since his heart had been broken, Naruto felt like maybe, just maybe, the pieces could be put back together. And Ino was the one holding them. 9/29, 12:56 p.m, Vivavat, the ramen stall was quiet, the soft steam rising from their bowls mixing with the night air. Naruto slurped the noodles slowly, his eyes distant, but there was a little more life in them than before. Ino, watching him carefully, noticed it. It wasn't much, but it was a start. She rested her chin on her palm and spoke softly, "See. Food helps. And maybe, so does talking to someone." Naruto looked up, a small, tired smile tugging at his lips. "You're right. It feels lighter. Just a bit." For a while, they ate in silence, and Naruto almost allowed himself to enjoy the moment. But then his gaze fell, his expression darkening again. He set his chopsticks down, staring at the wooden counter in front of him. Ino noticed immediately. "Naruto, what is it?" He shook his head, as if trying to fight the thoughts. But then, his voice came out low, broken. "I just keep asking myself, why wasn't I enough? What did I do wrong?" Ino's chest ached at the way his voice cracked. She leaned closer. "Hey, don't do that to yourself. Whoever it was, they were blind, Naruto. You're strong, you're kind, and you're so much more than you think. If they couldn't see that, then they didn't deserve you." Naruto's fists clenched. His eyes glistened, and this time, he didn't stop the tears. They slid down his cheeks, falling onto the counter. "But it hurts, Ino. It hurts so much because it was someone I trusted. Someone I thought believed in me." Ino reached over, placing her hand gently over his trembling one. She didn't speak. She just let her warmth reach him. Sometimes, silence was stronger than words. Finally, Naruto whispered, almost like a confession, "It was her, Hinata." Ino froze. The name lingered in the air, heavy and sharp. She knew Hinata, sweet, quiet Hinata who had always admired Naruto from afar. She had seen the way Hinata looked at him. No one would have expected her to hurt him like this. And yet, here was Naruto, broken because of her. Naruto's voice shook as he continued, I thought she felt the same way. That all the times she encouraged me, all the times she stood up for me, meant something. But when I finally told her how I felt, she said I was wrong. That she never saw me that way." He shut his eyes tightly, the memory stabbing at him again. "I thought she was different. But in the end, I was just a fool." Ino's grip on his hand tightened. Her heart burned, not with anger at Naruto, but with anger at the pain Hinata had caused him. She had never thought she'd see Naruto, the boy who carried the weight of the village, brought so low by one person's rejection. Leaning closer, her voice was firm but gentle. "Naruto, listen to me. Hinata's choice doesn't define your worth. She might have broken your heart, but that doesn't mean you're unlovable. It doesn't mean you're alone. Because I'm here, and I won't leave you." Naruto looked at her, his eyes wide, searching. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, slowly, he nodded. The pain was still there, but Ino's words were like a bandage on a wound that refused to stop bleeding. As they left the stall, walking side by side under the lantern lights of the village, Naruto realized something. Even though Hinata had broken his heart, someone else was beginning to piece it back together, piece by piece, word by word, touch by touch. And that someone was Ino. 9/29, 12:58 p.m, Vivavat. The streets of Konoha were mostly quiet now, only the faint glow of lanterns guiding the path. Naruto walked beside Ino, his hands shoved into his pockets, his head slightly lowered. The air between them was heavy, but no longer unbearable. For Naruto, it was strange, comforting even, that someone was walking beside him without trying to fix everything instantly, without pretending the pain was "Ain't real." Ino glanced at him from the corner of her eye. His usual energy was gone, replaced with a fragile silence. And yet, there was something about him that made her want to stay. She wasn't sure why, but seeing Naruto broken stirred emotions she didn't expect, protectiveness, admiration, even a kind of longing she couldn't name yet. They stopped near the small bridge overlooking the river. The water shimmered under the moonlight, flowing gently as if carrying away unspoken burdens. Naruto leaned against the railing, staring blankly at the reflection of the stars in the water. "Hinata," he whispered, barely audible. His chest tightened at the sound of her name. She was the one person I thought believed in me. She saw me when no one else did. I thought that meant something. His hands gripped the railing tightly, knuckles turning white. But when I finally confessed, she looked at me with those same kind eyes, and said no. Said I was wrong, that her feelings weren't the same. Quote, the words felt like knives, cutting him open again. Naruto lowered his head, his hair falling into his eyes as his voice trembled. I thought I was strong enough to handle anything, but this broke me. Quote, Ino stood quietly beside him, her heart twisting at every word. She had always imagined Hinata as gentle, almost too timid to hurt anyone. But hearing Naruto like this, she realized even the gentlest rejection could shatter the strongest spirit. Slowly, Ino placed her hand on his shoulder. He flinched slightly at the contact but didn't pull away. Her voice was soft, but filled with conviction. Naruto, sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. That doesn't mean you were wrong for caring. It just means, she wasn't the one meant to hold your heart. Naruto turned his head slightly, meeting her gaze. His blue eyes were clouded with pain, but there was a flicker of something else, uncertainty, hope, maybe even trust. Ino took a deep breath, her own heart racing. I can't erase what happened. I can't take away the hurt Hinata caused you. But I can promise this, I won't let you face it alone. Not anymore. For a moment, Naruto simply stared at her. His throat tightened, and before he could stop himself, a single tear slid down his cheek. But this time, it wasn't just from pain, it was from relief. He whispered, almost too softly, why are you being so kind to me, Ino? Quote, Ino smiled faintly, though her eyes shimmered. Because you've spent your whole life being kind to others, even when no one was kind to you. Maybe, it's about time someone gave that back. Naruto blinked, stunned by her honesty. His chest ached, but in a different way than before. A warmth he hadn't felt in days began to spread through him. They stood there for a long time, the night wrapping around them like a quiet secret. Naruto didn't have all the answers yet, and the wound Hinata left was still raw. But with Ino by his side, he finally felt like healing was possible. And though neither of them realized it fully, this night was not just about heartbreak. It was the first step towards something new, something that would change both of their lives forever. 9/29, 12:59 p.m, Vivavat, the day had been long, but for Naruto, it felt endless. Every corner of Konoha reminded him of what he had lost, every face in the crowd felt like a stranger's. His usual smile, the one he wore like armor, was nowhere to be found. Instead, there was only silence and a hollowness deep inside his chest. Naruto had always dreamed of recognition, of acceptance, of love. He had fought tooth and nail to prove himself to the village, to his comrades, to the people who once despised him. And slowly, he had earned it. People smiled at him now, they respected him, they even cheered his name. But all of that felt meaningless compared to the ache in his heart. He wandered aimlessly through the village streets until his feet carried him to a quiet training ground on the outskirts of Kon. Oha, the sun was beginning to sink, painting the sky in hues of gold and red. Naruto sat down heavily under a tall tree, the same one where he had once practiced until he collapsed, chasing the dream of becoming Hokage. Tonight, though, his dream felt distant, blurred by the sting of rejection and the weight of heartbreak. His hands clenched into fists on his knees. He wanted to scream, to punch something, to let out the storm raging inside him. But instead, he whispered to himself in a broken voice, why does it hurt this much? Why wasn't I enough? The words echoed in the empty training field, a confession only the wind could hear. Naruto's eyes stung, and though he tried to fight it, tears welled up and spilled down his cheeks. He hated crying. He hated feeling weak. But no matter how many battles he had fought, how many enemies he had defeated, nothing had prepared him for this pain. Physical wounds healed with time. But this was a wound to his very soul. At that moment, Naruto thought he was alone. But fate had other plans. Not too far away, Ino Yamanaka was walking home after finishing her duties at her family's flower shop. She had been tired, her mind full of trivial thoughts about the day. But when she passed the training ground, she noticed a familiar figure sitting under the tree. The sight made her pause. It was Naruto. At first, she thought he was just resting after training. But then she saw his shoulders trembling, the faint glimmer of tears on his face illuminated by the last rays of sunlight. Ino's breath caught in her throat. She had never seen Naruto like this. This was the boy who always shouted, always smiled, always made a fool of himself to cheer others up. The boy who stood tall even when the world looked down on him. And yet, right now, he looked broken. For a long moment, Ino just stood there, frozen. A war raged inside her. Should she leave him alone? Should she say something? She had never been particularly close to Naruto, and she wasn't sure he would even want her there. But something in her heart urged her forward. She couldn't walk away, not when he looked like that. Taking a cautious step closer, Ino called out softly, "Naruto." Naruto jerked his head up, hastily wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. He forced a smile, though it wavered at the corners. "Oh, hey, Ino. Didn't see you there. I was just, taking a break." But Ino wasn't fooled. She had spent her whole life learning to read emotions, through her clan's techniques, through her own intuition. And right now, Naruto's pain was written all over him. She crossed her arms and frowned gently. "You're lying. You don't take breaks like this. I've seen you train. You'd be running around, pushing yourself until you collapse. Not sitting here crying." Naruto flinched, his smile faltering completely. For a moment, he didn't say anything. Then he let out a shaky laugh, hollow and tired. "Hey, you're sharper than I thought, Ino." Quote. The sound of his broken laugh tugged at Ino's chest. She walked closer and crouched down in front of him, trying to catch his gaze. "Naruto, what happened?" Naruto looked away, his jaw tightening. He didn't want to say it out loud. Saying it meant admitting it was real. Saying it meant facing the truth he was trying so hard to run from. But Ino didn't move. She didn't press him with questions, but her eyes were steady, filled with something he rarely saw directed at him, genuine concern. Finally, Naruto's voice cracked as he whispered, "It hurts, Ino. More than I thought it ever could." His words hung in the air, heavy and raw. Ino's heart clenched. She didn't know the details yet, but she didn't need to. She could feel the weight of his pain, and that was enough. Slowly, she reached out and placed her hand over his. The warmth of her touch surprised him, and he looked up, startled. "You don't have to carry it alone," Ino said softly. "Whoever hurt you, they don't deserve your tears. But if you need someone to listen, someone to stay, I'll be here." For the first time that night, Naruto didn't feel completely alone. He stared at her, his eyes wide, his heart conflicted. He hadn't expected kindness from her, Ino, who had always seemed distant, sometimes even dismissive. Yet here she was, offering him something he had longed for all his life. Naruto's lips trembled as he whispered, "Why, Ino? Why would you care about me?" Ino gave him a faint smile, though her eyes glistened. "Because even someone like you deserves to be cared for. And maybe, I was wrong about you all along." The night deepened around them, but for Naruto, a faint spark of light returned to his heart. And though the wound was still fresh, though the pain was still sharp, for the first time since his heartbreak, he felt the smallest flicker of hope, because Ino was there. 9/29, 1:02 p.m., Vivavat. The next morning, Konoha was bathed in soft sunlight, the streets alive with the usual bustle. Yet Naruto barely noticed it. His steps were slow as he walked alongside Ino, who had insisted on accompanying him to distract his mind from the lingering pain of the previous night. Naruto's gaze was fixed ahead, but the weight in his chest had eased slightly. He felt lighter, though the shadow of heartbreak still clung to him. Ino, walking beside him, seemed almost radiant in the morning light. She hadn't said much, but her presence alone felt like a shield, protecting him from the cold emptiness he had felt. They reached the training grounds, where Naruto usually practiced his jutsus. Normally, He would have charged in with energy, ready to push his limits, but today he lingered by the edge, hesitant. Ino noticed the way he shifted uncomfortably, the slight tension in his shoulders, and she stepped close. Naruto, you don't have to push yourself today, she said gently. Let's just start slow, one step at a time. Naruto exhaled, nodding slightly. Yeah, that's fine. Ino handed him a small bottle of water and watched him sip quietly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air was filled with the sounds of distant birds, rustling leaves, and the faint hum of the village in the background. Naruto, Ino began after a pause, I've been thinking, you've carried so much for so long. All the battles, all the hardships, all the expectations, maybe it's okay to let someone else carry some of it too. Naruto looked at her, curiosity and surprise mingling in his expression. Carry some of it? Quote. Ino nodded. Yeah, pain, worries, even just the burden of heartbreak. You don't have to face it all alone anymore. Not with me here. Naruto's chest tightened. He had never imagined anyone saying something like this to him. Someone who actually wanted to help him, not pity him, not judge him, but genuinely share his burden. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to smile, a small, tentative smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, but was genuine nonetheless. Thanks, Ino, I didn't know someone could actually care like this. Ino's eyes softened. I care, Naruto, and I'll keep caring, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. I'm not going anywhere. Naruto felt warmth bloom in his chest, a strange yet comforting feeling. His heart still throbbed with the sting of rejection, the memory of the betrayal fresh in his mind, but Ino's words, her presence, it was like a soothing balm. He nodded slowly, swallowing the lump in his throat. Okay, I'll try to move forward, with you here. They spent the morning in quiet practice, Naruto moving hesitantly at first, Ino guiding him with gentle encouragement. Each movement, each step, was an exercise not just in physical training, but in emotional healing. Naruto began to feel strength returning, not the reckless, unstoppable energy he once had, but a new kind of strength, built on trust and support. As the sun climbed higher, Naruto finally paused, wiping sweat from his brow. He looked at Ino, a faint smile tugging at his lips. You make this easier, you know. Just being here. Ino's cheeks flushed slightly, and she smiled back. Good, because I'm not leaving your side anytime soon. Quote. They laughed softly, a light, tentative sound that seemed almost foreign in the quiet training ground. For the first time in days, Naruto felt like the world wasn't entirely against him. The hurt was still there, the heartbreak still raw, but with Ino by his side, he realized he could face it. He could heal, slowly, step by step, with someone who truly understood. Later, as they walked back toward the village, Naruto's mind drifted to the memory of the one who had broken his heart. A pang of sadness struck him, but this time, it wasn't overwhelming. He realized that while Hinata's rejection had hurt deeply, it didn't define him. His worth wasn't determined by someone else's choice. And perhaps, just perhaps, this heartbreak had led him to something new, someone like Ino, whose presence was slowly filling the empty spaces in his heart. By the time they reached the edge of the village, Naruto turned to Ino, his blue eyes clearer, more determined. Thank you, for staying with me. For everything. Ino smiled, brushing a stray hair from her face. Always, Naruto, I promise. And in that moment, though Naruto's heart still bore the scars of betrayal, a new story had begun, one of healing, trust, and the quiet spark of a bond that could grow into something stronger than pain itself. 9/29, 1:04 p.m., Vivavat, the following days were a delicate dance of routine and healing. Naruto tried to return to his usual training, but each movement felt heavier than before. His mind kept drifting back to the memory of rejection, the smile that wasn't meant for him, the words that cut deep. Than any blade, the warmth he thought he had shared being taken away. Yet, Ino was always there. She didn't pressure him to speak, nor did she rush him into forgetting. She simply walked beside him, stayed near him, and offered a presence that reminded him he wasn't alone. Whether it was practicing basic jutsus or running laps around the training ground, she matched his pace. Sometimes she'd tease him lightly, trying to coax a smile from him, and sometimes she'd just sit silently, letting him gather his thoughts. One afternoon, while the sun was high and the air warm, Naruto stumbled during a sparring session, his arm shaking as he tried to execute a complicated move. He fell hard onto the ground, frustrated, a sharp hiss escaping his lips. Ino hurried to his side. "Naruto, are you okay?" He shook his head, breathing heavily. I can't do it. I've lost my focus, everything feels pointless." Ino crouched beside him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Hey, it's okay. Everyone struggles sometimes. Even you. That doesn't make you weak. It means you're human. And humans, they need help. Let me help you." Naruto's chest tightened at her words. He had never imagined someone like Ino would offer such genuine support. Slowly, he allowed her to guide him through the movements, correcting his posture, encouraging him with small, soft words. Hours passed, and the sun began to set. Naruto sat on the grass, drenched in sweat, yet smiling faintly for the first time in days. "Thanks, Ino. I don't know what I'd do without you." Ino's heart fluttered at his words. "You'd be fine, Naruto. You're strong, but even the strongest need someone to lean on sometimes. And I'll be that someone, okay?" Quote. Naruto looked at her, truly looked, noticing for the first time the gentle determination in her eyes. It was different from the concern others had shown him, it was personal, attentive, warm. For the first time since his heartbreak, he felt a spark of hope that maybe he could heal. That night, they walked back through the village together. Lanterns lined the streets, casting a soft glow over the cobblestones. Naruto's steps were lighter now, and he allowed himself to laugh at one of Ino's playful remarks, the sound foreign yet comforting to his own ears. As they reached the quiet edge of the village, Naruto paused. He turned to Ino, his blue eyes reflecting both gratitude and something he didn't fully understand yet. "Ino, you've been amazing these past few days. I don't think I could have done this without you." Ino smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You don't have to say it, Naruto. I just want you to know, you're not alone anymore. I'm here, and I'm not leaving." Naruto's lips trembled, and he nodded. The weight on his chest was still there, but it no longer felt suffocating. He realized that while the pain Hinata had caused him was still a part of him, Ino's presence was slowly filling the empty spaces, stitch by stitch, moment by moment. And, for the first time in a long while, Naruto felt safe. And though he didn't say it aloud, a quiet truth settled deep in his heart. Someone who truly cared had come into his life, someone who would help him rise from the heartbreak stronger than before. The night wrapped them in its calm embrace, and as the stars shimmered above, Naruto's heart, though still tender, began to pulse with a fragile, growing hope, a hope that maybe, just maybe, he could open himself to happiness again, with Ino by his side. 9/29, 1:05 p.m. Vivavat. The next morning, Naruto woke up with the faint warmth of sunlight spilling through his window. For the first time in days, he didn't feel a crushing weight pressing against his chest. The memories of rejection, though still sharp, no longer felt entirely unbearable. A small part of him, the part that Ino's presence had touched, whispered that maybe things could get better. He dressed quickly and decided to head toward the training grounds. To his surprise, Ino was already there, practicing her jutsus with a quiet focus. The sun highlighted her golden hair, and she looked almost radiant in the morning light. Naruto hesitated at the edge of the field, unsure if he should disturb her. But before he could turn away, Ino looked up and smiled warmly. "Morning, Naruto," she called softly. "Come on, let's start training. It'll help take your mind off things." Naruto blinked, feeling an unfamiliar flutter in his chest. Okay." They began with simple exercises, basic chakra control, hand signs, and light sparring. Naruto struggled at first, his mind wandering back to Hinata's rejection. But each time he faltered, Ino was there, correcting his stance, encouraging him with gentle words. "You've got this," she'd say, or, "Don't overthink it, trust yourself." By midday, Naruto was sweating heavily, but he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: progress. Not just in his training, but in his heart. Each movement, each encouragement from Ino, was like stitching the torn pieces of him back together. During a break, Naruto slumped onto the grass, exhausted. Ino sat beside him, handing him a water bottle. "Feeling better?" she asked. Naruto took a deep sip and nodded. "Yeah, I think I'm starting to feel normal again. Or at least, a little lighter." Ino's eyes softened. "Good, because healing takes time. And I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to do this alone." Naruto looked at her, his gaze lingering longer than usual. "You really mean that?" "Of course," she replied with a small smile. "I care about you, Naruto. More than you might realize." Naruto's heart thumped loudly. He hadn't expected to hear such words, and they stirred something deep inside him, a mixture of gratitude, warmth, and a faint spark of hope. As the sun began to set, Naruto and Ino sat under the same tree where he had first allowed himself to cry. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the gentle evening breeze carried the scent of nearby flowers. Naruto finally spoke, his voice quiet. "Ino, I don't know how to thank you. You've helped me more than anyone ever has." Ino reached over, lightly placing her hand over his. "You don't have to thank me. Just let me stay with you. Let me be here when it's hard. That's all I want." Naruto's lips trembled into a soft smile. For the first time in days, he felt truly understood. The heartbreak from Hinata's rejection was still there, but with Ino by his side, the sharp edges were dulled. He could breathe again. He could hope again. The night grew darker, lanterns flickering along the village streets. Naruto and Ino remained under the tree, talking quietly about everything and nothing, their laughter occasionally piercing the calm night. The bond between them was growing, subtle, fragile, but unmistakable. And as Naruto finally leaned back against the tree, letting the weight of the day, and the heartbreak, settle into a gentler rhythm, he realized one undeniable truth: Hinata had broken his heart, yes. But Ino was beginning to heal it. The thought brought a soft smile to his face, and though he didn't say it aloud yet, a new feeling began to blossom quietly in his chest, a warmth he had thought he might never feel again. 9/29, 1:11 p.m. Vivavat. The days that followed felt like a strange mix of quiet recovery and gradual rediscovery for Naruto. The village carried on as it always did, merchants hawking the goods, children running through the streets laughing, shinobi practicing in training grounds, but Naruto's world had shrunk to the narrow path between the training grounds, the small ramen stall he liked, and the bench under the old tree where he could breathe and think without pretense. Ino walked beside him each morning, a steadfast presence that he had not realized he needed until it became undeniable. She did not rush him, she did not try to make him forget. Instead, she offered what was rare and precious: consistent care. Sometimes, she teased him to coax a smile. Other times, she simply sat silently beside him, letting him shoulder the weight of his heartbreak at his own pace. One morning, Naruto arrived at the training grounds feeling heavier than usual. His fists clenched, his usual determination dulled by the lingering ache of rejection. Ino was already there, standing beneath the shade of a tree, arms crossed as she practiced chakra control exercises. "Morning, Naruto," she called, glancing up with a small smile. "You look like you could use a friend today." Naruto managed a faint, wobbly smile in return. "Yeah, I guess I do." They began with simple exercises. Ino had him practice basic jutsus, hand signs, chakra flow, even some taijutsu movements. At first, Naruto faltered repeatedly, tripping over his own energy, his body moving slower than it usually did. But Ino's encouragement never wavered. "Focus, Naruto. Slow and steady. You're stronger than you think." Hours passed like this. Sweat poured down Naruto's face, his uniform sticking to him, muscles aching. But with each correction, each word of encouragement, he felt something shifting within him. The sharp sting of heartbreak dulled slightly. The gnawing emptiness inside his chest did not disappear entirely, but for the first time, it felt manageable. He was not alone. During a break, they sat on the grass under the shade of the same old tree. Naruto wiped his brow with the back of his hand and took a deep breath, the sunlight warming his tired face. You've been incredible these past few days, Ino. I didn't realize someone could actually care this much. Quote. Ino's heart skipped a beat at his words, though she kept her voice steady. I care, Naruto. And I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to face this alone anymore. Naruto's gaze lingered on her. He saw the determination in her eyes, the warmth, the patience. It was unlike anything he had experienced before. Slowly, he nodded, swallowing the lump of emotion that threatened to choke him. Okay, I'll try to move forward, with you here. The next few days followed a pattern that became comforting in its predictability. Mornings were for training, afternoons for recovery and light conversations, and evenings for quiet reflection under the tree. Naruto found himself speaking more than he had intended. He spoke about battles, about mistakes, about dreams he had long buried under a mask of strength. Ino listened, never judging, only offering support and understanding. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Naruto leaned back against the tree, exhausted but at peace. I never thought I'd feel like this again, he murmured. Like I could actually breathe without feeling crushed. Ino sat beside him, her hand brushing lightly against his arm. It's okay, Naruto. You're healing. And healing takes time. Don't rush it. Naruto's lips trembled into a small smile. Yeah, I think I'm starting to understand that now. They sat in silence for a while, the only sound the rustle of leaves in the gentle evening breeze. It was a quiet companionship, but it spoke volumes. Naruto realized that even though Hinata had broken his heart, the world had not ended. Someone else, someone unexpected, had entered his life, bringing light where there had been darkness. Days turned into a week. Naruto's strength returned gradually, but it was not just physical. His spirit, once heavy with sorrow, began to lift. Ino's presence had become a constant source of stability. She was there when he faltered, there when he laughed, there when he simply needed someone to access. Tea beside him without expectation. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling training session, Naruto and Ino rested near the river that ran quietly at the edge of the village. The water shimmered under the sunlight, and the gentle current seemed to carry away the lingering shadows in Naruto's heart. Naruto, Ino began softly, breaking the comfortable silence. I know you're still thinking about what happened, and that's okay. You don't have to forget. But maybe, just maybe, you can let yourself feel something new. Quote. Naruto looked at her, confusion and curiosity mingling in his eyes. Something new. She nodded, her gaze steady. Yes, healing doesn't mean erasing the past. It means letting the future in, and I think the future can be brighter than you expect, Naruto. If you let it. Naruto's chest tightened. He wanted to argue, to protect his broken heart from further vulnerability, but something in her tone, in her unwavering support, made him pause. Slowly, he exhaled and let the tension ease slightly from his shoulders. Maybe you're right, he said softly, almost to himself. I don't know yet. But, having you here, it helps. Ino smiled faintly, a warmth in her eyes. That's all I want, Naruto. To help. The days continued like this, each moment subtly shifting the balance in Naruto's heart. He laughed more, even if sometimes it was forced. He trained harder, fueled not just by ambition, but by a desire to honor the support Ino gave him. Slowly, he allowed himself to hope again, not recklessly, not blindly, but cautiously. One evening, as they walked through the village after a light dinner at a small ramen stall, Naruto felt a strange sense of calm. The streets were quieter now, the lanterns casting long shadows, and the gentle hum of the village seemed almost like music. You know, Ino, he began hesitantly, I never realized someone could actually stay by your side like this. Without expecting anything, without pretending. It's kind of amazing. Ino's cheeks flushed slightly at his words, though she smiled. You deserve it, Naruto. After everything, you deserve someone who cares. And, well, I'm not going anywhere. Naruto nodded slowly, letting the words sink in. His heart, though still tender, had begun to stitch itself together. And though he didn't voice it, a new feeling was quietly blossoming, something warm, something unexpected, something that made his chest ache in a pleasant way. The night deepened, and they stopped by the edge of a quiet stream. Naruto gazed at his reflection in the water, then at Ino, who stood beside him, her presence steady and reassuring. "Ino, I don't know how to say this," he murmured. "But, thank you, for staying with me, for being here when I couldn't be strong." Ino placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to say it, Naruto. I just want you to know, I'm here. Always." Naruto looked at her, his eyes glistening, and for the first time, he allowed himself to hope, not for someone who had hurt him, not for the past he couldn't change, but for the possibility of something new. And though Hinata's rejection had once shattered his heart, in this quiet, unassuming companionship, Naruto realized that maybe, just maybe, he could open himself to trust, to care, and perhaps even to love again. The night wrapped them in a gentle embrace. Stars reflected in the stream, the village quiet around them, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Naruto allowed himself to smile without reservation. He didn't know what the future held. He didn't know if his heart would ever fully forget the pain of rejection. But one thing was certain, with Ino by his side, the darkness no longer felt suffocating. The bond they shared, fragile yet undeniable, had become a new foundation, a source of healing, comfort, and the quiet beginnings of a deeper connection that neither of them fully understood yet. Answer, Part 2 closed not with heartbreak, but with a tentative hope. Naruto's heart was still tender, still scarred, but it beat a little stronger each day, slowly learning that even broken hearts could find light in unexpected places. Ino's hand brushed against his, their fingers barely touching, yet the gesture carried more warmth and promise than words ever could. And somewhere deep inside, Naruto felt it, the faint, steady spark of trust, care, and maybe, something more. The night held them in its calm embrace, and under the watchful stars, Naruto finally allowed himself to believe in a future where his heart, though once broken by Hinata, could be whole again with Ino. If you want to know that when Naruto's mom knows about all of these, what will be her reaction? Then please like and subscribe my channel Narutofix 11 for part 3 and more fanfic. Thank you.